Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Comics Aficionados. I'm your host, Wes, as always, and I got an all-star panel with me today. Returning to the channel is the man with the ugliest sweaters in the business, but also he has the nicest washer-dryer unit you'll ever see. What's up, Lance?
How's it going, Wes? Thanks for having me.
I am doing excellent. Of course, this week we do have the trifecta of Disrespecta. We got Pele, we got Doc, and we got Ash. How's it going, buddies?
Hey, I love being included in such a high esteemed group. Too early to talk. Good morning, everyone.
It is early. You know, you're in California. I'm all the way over here in the Philippines. It's about 11 p.m. here. And it looks like we got some people here to talk about some comics, interact with us, of course. Please interact with us. We love all that. We're going to have the conversation. I do have all this outlined, but if you say something really interesting or if you have a great point to make, I'll definitely get that in the stream, and we'll talk about that as well. Glad to see March Hare in here. He's a great dude. Alex J. We got Radimus Henry and FF2. All great people. Hopefully we'll have a full house here today. Are you all ready to talk about whether or not the X-Men have been confirmed villains this week? Doc, did you read X-Men Fantastic Four? They came to kidnap Reed Richards' son. They're villains, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, they are.
Now, you and I we were already quibbling over this earlier. I don't know if I'd necessarily call it kidnap. I mean, legally, yeah, definitely. But it was more facilitating them running away.
Right.
It was facilitating Franklin's running away, which, still kind of technically, take a minor out of the country. You're going to go to the clink for kidnapping.
So typically, make an adult woman and use her to seduce a 15-year-old boy, so he will leave his family. You'll get charged with kidnapping.
Well, yeah, especially since she's a teacher.
Boom, exactly.
But he's got it bad. He's got it bad.
But hey, remember we're in America, so when the female teacher does that, she only gets like an eighth of the jail time that the male teacher does.
Oh, bad girl.
And she doesn't go on the sex offenders registry either.
No.
So Mark Harris didn't order enough copies, and he didn't read Fantastic Four X-Men. I feel bad because that's a great comic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There are a couple of issues with it, but Ash, did you read the comic yet?
I did. I did all my research for today.
All right. I know that you're normally the dissenting view. Tell us why the X-Men aren't the villains in the story. Uh-oh.
No, I've been calling them villains since House of X, Powers of X, and this book, while I agree, it's better than the normal Dawn of X titles. I enjoyed it. Chip Zdarsky is probably the best writer at Marvel. It's not up to his other books, but was solid. I think he definitely understands Fantastic Four, and I would just love to read a Fantastic Four book by him. This book just did what the books have been doing all along. They're kidnapping people. The Marauders have been doing it issue after issue. This was it felt like a quality written Marauders issue.
Well, that would have been the first one.
They're rescuing
Marauders are liberating
society. Yeah, they're liberators.
Well, they're taking children from their homes.
Really? Yeah.
So
no, but they were like there's soldiers keeping them in concentration camps and stuff like that. It's a little different than
on that pristine beach in Brazil, it looked like a big concentration camp when they.
Yeah,
listen, I didn't get to the pristine beach in Brazil. I got through Russia before I checked out of that book.
So yeah, every issue is them rescuing some minor. That's another thing. They're always minors, and it's like, so why you're taking them from their parents? And I thought that there was a big political issue in the real world about splitting children from their parents. It doesn't seem to apply in the comics.
Yeah.
I have a question. How do they confirm that the Richards kids are mutants and when their parents were were not born mutants, so why would their offspring be mutants?
Well, mutants are born from humans.
Only,
But I mean, the
Only
powers
Franklin
from Frank and Susan come from the dimension that they went to the negative zone, right? So
Correct.
that mutated their genes, and when they had a child, that child had mutated genes.
so like Spider-Man's kid would possibly be a mutant, but he's not a
Possibly.
mutant.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
And also, one thing we learned in Fantastic Four X, whatever it's called, is that humans are above everybody, even the superpowered. If you get your superpowers not from an X gene, you're still scum, essentially.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what that book taught us.
Yeah, it's
the way they
they're
talk
not-
down
they-
to the.
they're not gods among men like they actually would be in real
Yeah.
life. They're scum.
If
all right, so we do have a dissenting voice. William Medina says the comic revealed how Reed Richards should never be trusted since he paid for the death of Bill Foster and is shown as a total control freak. I think he's referring to the tracking chip that he placed in Franklin and the fact that he's masking his X gene. Well, I'm not saying Reed Richards is Father of the Year here because that's obviously not true.
Yep.
But you know, if I had a child that was capable of creating universes with his mind, I might want a tracker on him as well. And I certainly wouldn't want him to be going through the portal into Krakoa without my supervision. And of course, Reed Richards and Sue Storm can't go in there because humans aren't allowed.
Right.
So on the latter one, I completely understand. And in the first one with the tracker, I forgive him. What do you guys think about that?
Respectfully to William, Franklin's a minor.
Yeah.
Parents make the decisions. That's how it works. When you're under 18, your parents are responsible for everything you do, and you submit your authority to them, no matter how much you dislike it. And it's up to parents to control their children.
Especially
And if
when
putting a tracker on a child who's a mutant in a world where mutants are known to abduct every mutant on the planet, seems like a smart move to me.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with the latter. Good point regarding Bill Foster, but you know that's for the authorities to deal with. I'm looking solely at his responsibility to his child, and his responsibility is to his child is to ensure that some freaky teacher doesn't abscond with him in the middle of the night.
well,
And
I mean,
go ahead.
No, finish.
No, I was just gonna say that he puts a tracker on him because he knows that there are people out there that are gonna want to steal him. Of course.
Go ahead. No, finish. Sorry, I thought you were done.
No, it's just it's basically up to the child anyway. Franklin wants to go, he's going to go. If he doesn't want to go, he doesn't want to go. There's not a single power on this entire earth that can make him go to Krakoa. So he could turn them all into little bunny rabbits, and
Well, he can't because his powers are waning. That's the big reveal.
he can still do it. Probably he's powerful enough for that. He's probably you're only half as powerful as the Molecule Man now. Oh, that's awful.
I mean, look, let's be honest. Half the parents that we know probably track their kids using their cell phone. If the kid kind of isn't going, just to make sure the kid's going where they're supposed to go. Half the parents out there these days are doing that. So Reed Richards, who is a lot smarter and has a lot more means than everybody else, doing the same thing, not terribly surprising. Plus the fact that, and then the power dampener is you have a hormonal teenage mutant that can remake reality. Not only is that risky, but he's also, as a minor, a parent of a minor, you're legally liable for all the shit that your kid does. So I would be definitely, I mean, while I don't like it and I have a problem with authority to begin with, I definitely see why Reed's doing it.
Yeah, and then another thing is the underhanded tactics that that Charles is doing that I find revolting. Like, Ash, what did you think about Charles, like the smirk he had on his face when he said, "We want you to go and talk to Franklin because we know you had a special relationship and he's smitten with you," and basically manipulating or using Kitty to manipulate Franklin Richards, a 15-year-old.
It was pure villainy. I mean, that is all the tropes of a manipulative, subversive type villain. Charles fit right there. I mean, I can't see how any writer could write that character that way and with a straight face explain to me how that character shouldn't be viewed as a villain. I know in our modern society that things have twisted up and sometimes that's the way that it is, but Charles was as bad comes. And later on in the comic, when they made the comment to Magneto, when he was like, "Oh, I guess we don't," I think it was him. One of them made a comment about, "I guess we don't have to worry anymore. He'll come to us." And it was just like that further reaffirmation of how they're just pulling the strings and using Kitty, and then Kitty also making a comment about how she kind of wishes. I might be crossing comics because I've read a lot of X books. How she wished, I think it was another X book, where she wishes she had gone to the White Queen instead of Xavier in the past. And I was like, what is going on? But I think I'm crossing comics, so I'll stop there.
I believe you are.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Xavier right now is, I don't know, this is a reference that only some of you guys will get. The character he's reminding me the most of right now is from back when Warren Ellis was writing Stormwatch, the Weatherman. They've turned him essentially into the Weatherman. Who was the guy that was running Stormwatch. Ostensibly, he was a good guy, and he decided he wanted to change the world, and kind of the way that Xavier has done, he hit that point where he's like, okay, what we're doing isn't working. I'm going to go a different route. And he straight up became a villain by the end of it. And Henry Bendix, the Weatherman, was, basically Stormwatch's biggest villain by the time they were done.
Yeah. That's actually a good point. I think that this is a clear indicator that we're not dealing with the real X-Men, and this is a situation that I think it's almost reaching a point to where Hickman's getting a little ham-fisted with it, but yeah, it's they're villains, and
I thought. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I did read through the issue, and I'm not normally a fan for this type of thing, but what I see is Fantastic Four is generally like a happy family unit being disrupted and put into chaos by all these like insane militaristic villains. That's how I read the issue. Like, he is mutant, he is power. Magneto says that, and it's just so strange to me. I'm like, I'm starting to get a vibe like they cannot be the X-Men. Like even Wolverine saying he has diplomatic immunity, bub. I'm like, these are not the X-Men. Like, there's got to be some villain lurking behind the curtains and the real X-Men.
Lance brings up a good point that I wanted to hit. That I thank you for reminding me. This is the first time I can recall Wolverine acting like the pod people X-Men.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole time I've been noticing, like, hey, Wolverine still kind of seems like he's separate from all this. And this Wolverine seemed like pod people X-Men. And I don't know if that's just because not everyone's on the same page, like Chip's coming in and going, or if it's by design. I can't really understand what's happening.
I think the copy process is a little bit, each copy is a little bit further removed from the original. So
Doc, I'm gonna throw this one to you. Eddie White saying, I love how people are now saying the X-Men are villains when all of superherodom said fuck mutants whenever they needed their help. Not saying they aren't fundamentally flawed in their motives. And then he continues, mutants tried the MLK approach and they got the MLK result. Now they're going the Malcolm route, and I'm here for it. What do you think about that? That They are flawed, but they are not villains because they're trying to protect their own people.
Okay, I get that logic, but this was always about Xavier's dream, and I've been saying it since House of X, Powers of X. This is Magneto's dream now, but with Xavier as the head of it. This is Magneto's dream, and I don't know. I get that logic. The superhero community kind of screwed mutants over at every possible opportunity. The only ones they really didn't screw over, hell, Beast was an Avenger, and when he came to the Avengers for help on fixing the X gene problem, they basically said, yeah, we really don't know what to do, so you're on your own. And the Avengers had no problem with the Office of National Emergency putting Sentinels guarding Westchester after there was only 198 mutants left.
Yeah.
They had no problem with that. Even and whenever Havoc got turned bad during Axis, when he didn't really get turned good again afterwards, even though he led an Avengers team, they just kind of said, whatever. They don't give a shit about mutants.
I think that at this point, we have to start investigating for ourselves and looking into the past information that's been provided to see if we can find out who is behind the manipulation of the copies, or who came up with just to see who, if we can get a kind of like a clue as to what's happening with the copies because each time that they're copied like this, they get a little bit more, they get a little bit further afield with their process and the things that they do.
My assumption is it's Krakoa, because we know that Krakoa is feeding on the telekinetics and stuff, so it has a relationship to where it's feeding off the mutants. It needs them to be on the island, so I think it's changing kind of their point of view. What were you going to say about that one, Doc?
Well, I don't remember.
I have a question, Doc. So you originally had the X-Men and then the villains to the X-Men. Who does this new era of X-Men benefit more, the original X-Men or their villains?
It's the Brotherhood. Mm-hmm. This is the Brotherhood. They should change the name to the Brotherhood because they're not the X-Men anymore. And correct. I mean, yes, I understand mutants going, or the second incarnation, the Acolytes. One of the two. You can argue that it's either of them, except for and even to the point of being like almost worshiping the Five. They have a lot of traits of the Acolytes and a lot of traits of the Brotherhood in them, which were both Magneto's groups.
It's true. Yeah, they're
all right. Ridiculous Thoughts has a point. He says, if this was if the Inhumans basically did the same thing with people. Wait, I missed it. Where is it? If this was the Inhumans, would people be saying the same things about them? What do you think about that one, Lance?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the last part again?
If it were the Inhumans taking these actions, that the X-Men are doing right now, would people be saying the same thing about them, that they're villainous?
I think
if you're wanting to take somebody's children, yeah.
Yeah, I think they would be. If you had an Inhumans that were born in normal households, and then all these people. I mean, they forcibly take children now. It's very strange. So I think they would be considered enemies.
But they also separated themselves from humanity. They lived on the moon. At one point, I believe they lived in a city above New York.
Oh yeah, so maybe they could be viewed as more godlike, and they could be like almost like some type of apparition coming to take you away. So okay, yeah, it could be almost a little bit more like Peter Pan or something at that point.
Oh, by the way, I do remember what I was going to say before about the clones being different. Each regeneration or resurrection. The problem is, I think that's an idea that's going to get explored in X Factor, and
no one's going to read that.
Well, yeah, and that's the Leah Williams book, so you're going to hand an important thing off to another incompetent writer. So
exactly.
So I got
came to mind a few minutes ago.
Comment on Ridiculous Thoughts post. I don't really understand the point of the question. I don't think anyone is judging the X-Men being villains because there's this greater motive against the X-Men. I think the X-Men is probably Marvel's most beloved franchise. We review them as villains, at least for my sake, and everyone I know that agrees with me, because they're displaying the traits of villains. If the Inhumans did it, if the Avengers did it, if the Fantastic Four did it, if any group behaved exactly the way the X-Men are, I would say that's pretty villainous.
Yeah, to expand on that point, I was reading some of Hickman's old work with Marvel Comics, and I started reading his, I think it's the New Avengers, where it's basically the Illuminati. It's Black Panther, Doctor Strange, I think Beast was in there, Tony Stark, Captain America, and they were having worlds were colliding from different dimensions, and they were literally destroying entire other planets of versions of Earth and killing like billions and trillions of people on a weekly basis. And all I could think was, this is some of the most villainous stuff I've ever seen in a comic book. I'm shocked that the Illuminati are killing this many people. So I had the same reaction even when it was the Illuminati. I think
I never liked the Illuminati either.
No, I always thought that they were villains. I mean, it's all in the name, isn't it? The Illuminati is not typically a good thing, is it?
Mm-hmm. No, but I'm saying, those are all typically heroes, but when they started doing villainous actions, I had the same personal response. I was like, ooh, that's pretty cringy. They shouldn't be doing that. That doesn't feel like something a hero would do.
Well, the Inhumans actually did do what the X-Men are doing right now after Infinity, but they weren't treated as villains. All the readers thought that they were, and that's why they rejected the Inhumans. But Marvel thought that they were being heroic, and they were going around after they released all the Terrigen Mists, and new Inhumans were popping up everywhere. They were basically just coming in and kidnapping them, doing the exact same shit. And hell, they had a ship that was flying around the same way that Marauders are doing to find Inhumans in other countries and take them away back to New Adelan that was floating in New York. But this is the same Marvel that decided that the X-Men were somehow the villains in Inhumans versus X-Men because they wanted to just change the nature of the Cloud so that it would still work on humans, but not kill mutants. And Marvel made them the villains.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a company right now that their creatives, their concept of morality is just, it's upside down. And they think that that's okay. And they characters that are acting heroic, they treat like villains, and people that are acting villainous, they treat like heroes. And I don't get it.
So what do you think about Eddie White's another point? Let's not forget this is Moira's 10th life. I honestly think she's the villain and is actually working to wipe out mutants. That's the reason she doesn't want Destiny resurrected. Do you think that maybe does anyone believe that Moira might be the ultimate villain in this story?
I think it's a possibility because we have to consider a really important part. A point here is that every time Moira dies and resurrects, the timeline is started over. So
yeah,
all these people that exist in Moira's 10th life, this is their only life. But Moira has lived all 10 of those lives. And one of those lives, she joined Magneto. And one of those lives, a different one, she joined Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
And her psyche has got to be all sorts of messed up. She is not the Moira McTaggart that longtime X-Men readers knew when she, you know, had a relationship with Charles and shared his dream and stuff. This is a Moira who has then gone on to live multiple lives with many other X-Men villains. And remember, one of her lives, she became an assassin and murdered all the Trask family. This is a woman who is not a saint, and she is not a good person. She is capable of doing anything. And that's a very good possible theory, that's the case.
All right. So another Nicholas Thoughts comes back with, so you all think that we will get a payoff at the end where all the real X-Men are hanging out within Krakoa, a claw back to the classic issue. I think they might be in prison somewhere, but you know, I've kind of thought that all along. Otherwise, I've moved further away from that thought. What do you think about that idea, Lance?
I don't know if how long could a prison hold the X-Men? I mean, they've never.
They're unconscious.
When it was introduced, had all the X-Men and was basically about to kill them, and they couldn't do anything about it
until Xavier he had to send 2 other teams.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
To free them, and the first one got team. I mean, got retconned in, but they got slaughtered, and then it wasn't until they sent the second one, that they were actually able to free them.
The real X-Men have to be somewhere, because
I think they're hanging out with Sabretooth.
Yeah, okay, yeah, they're in the deep dark hole or whatever.
Well, could that be a clue? A lot of people have had theories that Kitty Pryde, I refuse to call her Kate, can't go through the gates because her powers would allow her access. And I was like, I think that's a really good theory that I'm gonna choose to subscribe to until I see something better. And if these other ideas are true, such as the X-Men are being held prisoner somewhere, that would allow Kitty to potentially find them.
God, Kitty Pryde is just like, you guys said that pod people. She is 1,000% not a character I recognize. Like,
yeah.
Oh right, yeah.
when
Marauder, she's just an alcoholic. No, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, she's an alcoholic, and she's now upgraded to a kitty diddler.
So creeped out by that page where she hugs Franklin. I was like, this is weird. The pose was just, it was wrong. It was not how a teacher hugs.
Why did they choose to use her? Getting back to FF, why did they choose? I was confused why they brought Kitty to be like, oh, you have a special relationship. Didn't Rachel Summers? It's Rachel Summers and Franklin that have the relationship. I mean, they end up being like married in the future, and
because
there was that
X-Men Fantastic Four in '87.
There was a infatuation that he had, whether he would go and he would visit her, and
I guess Rachel Summers isn't part of the Dawn of X, so I guess I couldn't do that.
Well, she is, but she's just hanging out on the moon with the rest of her family.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about it.
She'll be in X Factor, I think. I believe,
possibly.
Yes. Correct?
Possibly.
Yeah. Pretty sure she's on the cover of that one.
Yeah, I think that Charles may have been talking up the special relationship a bit much. It was kind of like a one-day infatuation kind of thing. But the stronger relationship bond or bond would be Rachel. But
yeah, they're the ones that got together. That was part of the whole Days of Future Past stuff.
Right.
That's the whole reason Rachel comes. She leaves Franklin. She comes,
but that's when he's an adult. He's still a kid.
But Franklin's growing up now. Anyways,
he wouldn't remember her because it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Good point. All right.
Yeah, because the Franklin from Days of Future Past.
Wes bringing reason to the table again.
But the potential is there. The potential is there that he would have a lot stronger connection with Rachel.
So Antoine Gibbs is saying the fact that the X-Men came suited up and not in civilian clothes is the deciding factor for me. X-Men came to start some shit. Absolutely, that's my point. They came to physically remove the child. They came to coerce. They came to break up a family, to drive a wedge between a father and son. And that's why I was like, wow, I thought they felt villainous, but I think this really confirmed it all along. Lance, what did you think of the confrontation when they show up to essentially take their children away?
Well, I mean, they threatened to do it in House of X or Powers of X, one of them where
House of X #1.
Cyclops says he belongs with us, and then apparently Cyclops sent a team. and
Yeah,
it's
he
just
said,
a
you know,
premeditated plan that he had the whole time.
Yeah, he said that, you know, we'll see each other again. This isn't over. So,
and I can't. The way the FF. I mean, it'll be interesting because what's the next? Is the premise for the rest of this going to be them like they're going to be fighting the X-Men now?
Well, it's just a 4-part miniseries, and I think it's going to clear up. By the end, Franklin will have clear allegiances either with humans or mutants. I'm assuming it's going to be with mutants.
yeah, and that's going to make Charles and the mutants just freak
Even
out
more powerful
entirely.
because they'll have another Omega.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I'm saying if Franklin chooses the humans, then I'd say then that Professor X will get desperate.
There can be no question to their villainy. I mean, they just have. It even said in the issue where they said he's possibly an Omega, and it's like, is that the point though? That wasn't originally supposed to be the point of gathering mutants.
Well, that's what. Remember back when Professor X said that, you know, the medicines are not the great gift to mutant kind. It's the Omega level mutants.
Yes,
that they are
the greatest
primary
resource of Krakoa.
Yeah. The greatest resource of Krakoa are the Omega levels.
And I do believe that Magneto let the cat out of the bag because he said, you know, he doesn't belong with you. He's a mutant. He is power. I think that he clearly stated that they are there for his power. They don't, you know, they're nothing there. They just see him as power and something to wield. But Mako makes a good point. I'm going to send them this one your way, Ash. So the mutants should just shut up and take it like they did all this time. Your view on this is a bit weird to me. I'm assuming they're talking to all of us because we sort of have similar views on this. What should the mutants do according to you?
I think they should wait until he becomes an adult and can make his own choices without having.
The mutants should follow Martin Luther King's approach, which was the right approach. I was going to say this about an earlier comment. Yes, they've abandoned that approach, and yes, Martin Luther King paid a terrible price for his views, but his views were the righteous ones. Yeah, and usually the righteous do pay because evil hates righteousness. And I mean, the X-Men face bigotry and persecution from some people. What's happening in Marvel Comics right now is that Marvel has to try to sell us on this idea by making us believe that 7.5 billion humans on the planet are all just animalistic, crazy, just kill all the muties. It's just not the case. It's never been the case. There's always been that small little group of, you know, weirdos and bigots that every culture has. And, you know, the mutants face that. And we used to tell good stories about rising above bigotry and being better and converting people to your better ideas. And now it's just like, oh, you're a bigot? Well, screw you. We're going to take over the world and we're going to re-educate you. And it's like, oh, so that's the answer? Like, what?
Yeah. Well, it's like Martin Luther King Jr. was a righteous man. And he was the epitome of the righteous man within the civil rights movement. Nowadays, we have civil rights activists that are villains within our own society. And, you know, the Malcolm X approach is the bridge too far. You know, it is villainy. You know, it actually turns.
Talk about like.
Well, it does.
Figures. I don't even want to.
It turns it back. It turns it back. This whole story back to that.
Let's go to another point.
All right.
Do you guys think Hickman is setting up the Marvel reboot he didn't get with Secret Wars? What do you think about that, Doc?
I don't think so. Honestly, because I don't think that they're going to give him the chance to do it. And honestly, a reboot for Marvel is a terrible effing idea. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. Look, part of the appeal of universes like Marvel is that they have a lot of history. You can go into the back issues. You will lose so many thousands of readers, and you're not going to get new ones out of this. They already did this. They did it with Ultimate Marvel. If they want to do it, just do another Ultimate Marvel. Start Ultimate Marvel again. And even Ultimate Marvel lasted, 5 5 years before it really started losing readers. You're just going to end up writing the same stories again. So keep the continuity. If a reboot is essentially would be Marvel committing suicide. They're putting the gun to their head and they're pulling the damn trigger. And nobody ever seems to think this. The only way that you keep interest in these big expanded shared universes is by keeping its continuity. If you abandon it, you're dead. This isn't 1938. This isn't 1965. You can't start that whole thing over again just because they seem to, because the characters have, people know who they are.
All right, so one of our, I believe is our Spanish viewer, Isaladog, is saying, Franklin sucks with black hair. Let's talk about some of the inconsistencies with the art and the costumes. Franklin has black hair. Magneto is in the wrong costume. I believe Kitty Pryde's supposed to be dead right now, but she's also not in the costume that she has been in. And there were some other changes. What else did you notice, and did you like that, Doc?
I didn't know what the hell was going on with, continuity wise, I'm still so confused as to where this sits. Obviously, Kitty doesn't have a busted face. She isn't dead. She's wearing the wrong costume. And then, Franklin with the weird black hair. I didn't get that. Cyclops showing up wearing one of the X-Men trainee costumes. What the hell was that about? I was so confused on this. It looked weird.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else confused about all the continuity and the weird costumes? Because it was throwing me off.
Part of me thinks it's by design. Like I think Hickman's doing something weird with this, and we're gonna get some weird explanation down the road. And I still have not abandoned the idea that all this is happening in a different universe. Like it's not the 616. And I know Hickman was kind of confronted about this with the whole lowercase lettering, and he's like, no, that's not it. Like we're just doing the lowercase lettering because you can fit more words in a balloon. And I'm just like, well, except no one else in Marvel's adapting this. And I feel like that answer is kind of weird. And from a Marvel editorial standpoint, which I could go believe either way, it could be completely incompetent to be like, yeah, whatever. Or Marvel go, no, we need to be consistent among our books. I still think that that's a clue that he didn't want to get caught. So he kind of pulled a, what was it when J.J. Abrams got caught on Star Trek 2 and he's like, no, it doesn't have Khan in the movie. And he kept denying it when everyone guessed it. And he's like, oh, it actually did. So I think there's something. I think those are clues.
I do think Spawnfire has a very interesting point here. Even if Franklin chooses to stay with his family because he's visiting Krakoa, Sinister might get some hands on his DNA, which he's been looking for to add to his database. How important or how valuable would Franklin Richards' DNA be to Sinister and all the shady stuff he's doing on Krakoa?
I think he'd be invaluable. Yeah. The fact that here's the thing that's weird to me.
Doc, you got any theories on that?
Not really. I mean, I kind of did, right. But
is everyone gone?
Am I not transmitting?
Can you hear me, Wes?
Yeah, we're good now. Apparently, I had a little bit of a glitch.
So I was talking. I guess you guys didn't hear me. I was just saying. I think it's kind of weird that the world's mightiest heroes and everything don't look at the X-Men and go, wait a second, look, we're cool with you guys going off on your own island, doing your own thing. We don't want to mess with you. But look, you've got Apocalypse, Mr. Sinister, Magneto, like the list goes on and on of like these world super criminals that are, basically got committed crimes against humanity. Like, we can't let you harbor these guys. We can't let Mr. Sinister just continue to go off. And you guys are basically harboring. It'd be the modern day equivalent of like harboring terrorists. Like it's weird to me that the world is like, oh, that's cool. Just let Mr. Sinister do his things. And, oh yeah, here, take one of the most powerful entities on the planet. He'll go over there and we'll give him diplomatic immunity. We'll just ignore it. We'll just let Apocalypse run around all over the world doing his things, opening gates to magical dimensions. It's like
they may not be in a position to do anything about any of that. I mean, that's why villains always lurk in the shadows until they reveal themselves, and then the heroes come out. Like, they may not know what's going on, and they may not be able to stop it at the moment. That's kind of what I was.
Yeah, you make a great point, but don't you think like the X-Men are being kind of overt about some of the? I mean, it's not like they're hiding Apocalypse. Like he's running around doing stuff. He's in England, opening gates, and there's like literally monsters flooding into the world right now. Like
that's interesting. Yeah.
Just like what's going on? Oh, I guess it's cool. We'll just ignore this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can chalk that up to Tinny Howard being a terrible writer too.
Well,
correct. But it's all part of Hickman's big plan, and we have to assume, right? He's supposed to be in control.
Well, I've kind of come to the conclusion that Hickman's job here is he has a lot less control than we thought, and that he's less steering the ship than we thought. And basically, Hickman's job is to come up with a bunch of interesting ideas and then not explore them himself, but pass them on to be explored poorly by a bunch of wildly and vastly inferior creators in generally unnecessary spin-offs and unnecessary and disappointing spin-offs.
There's a point that somebody made in there. They were talking about that if they reboot, they're finished with Marvel. It's Sell a Dog. I think that this was going to be there was going to be a reboot again at some point in the future, regardless. I mean, I think that Powers of X, House of X kind of, made that indicator, that this is the 10th life. There's one more. So, I think that the reboot was inevitable.
Well, there's
just
like there's two kinds of reboots, right? There's continuity reboots and there's numbering reboots.
Yeah.
But
I think that there's going to be I think that whenever they find the real X-Men, that there's going to be that reboot at that point, and it's going to have reverberating effects across the Marvel universe.
Okay, so getting back to this, how long does it take for Franklin to be an adult since he was born in 1968? So they keep aging him up and then de-aging him. I think recently, within past few years ago, he was an adult, and they took him out into the cosmos, and they brought him back as a teenager again, correct?
He was a kid. Yeah.
They bendised him.
Yeah. Well, they that's the problem with Franklin. He's a walking Deus Ex Machina, and just kind of a walking MacGuffin. They can't keep him powerful and fully powered for too long, or else he kind of can solve everything. So they have to de-age him or depower him or shuffle him off somewhere. He's been a kid, he's been a adult, he's been a teenager, he's been a tween, and he just gets aged up and aged down and aged up and aged down all the damn time. Plus the fact that you got to look at it. Remember Marvel's sliding timeline in the 616, it's only been about somewhere between 13 and 15 years from Avengers 4, whenever Cap comes out of the ice.
Well, we know for a fact in the X universe, it's only been 10 years because Hickman established that in House of X, Powers of X. The timeline starts at X plus 10. So we can know there's only been a 10 years. There's only been a 10-year thing since the beginning of X-Men, issue number 1. So anything that's happened in that timeline can't be more than 10 years, according to what's happening now, unless there's something that I don't understand. But
has anything been mentioned? I don't think so. But anything been mentioned at all about Madeline Pryor up to this point?
I don't think yet.
Because I'm curious about that.
Wasn't she kind of hinted at in the Sinister Secrets?
Oh yeah, she's going to appear. She's supposed to appear in one of the new books coming up. The Goblin Queen's coming back.
What if she might have some fundamental part to play in all this regarding Krakoa's ambitions? If she might have might be kind of like the spider in the works.
Possibly, but I mean, look, there's a question of, can they bring Madeline back and actually activate her X gene? Because remember, she's a clone of Jean.
Yeah.
That her X gene wasn't working.
Mm.
And she ended up only getting powers because of her deals with, I think, what was it? Nastrith? No, Nastrith.
Nastrith, okay.
In Limbo. And that's how she became the Goblin Queen. Mm-hmm. And she has all the demonic powers and everything. But so my question is, since the 5 can they're fixing things, I wonder whether or not her X gene can be fixed, and then you end up with, or if they've already fixed it and that's part of the problem, and she has all of Jean's both telepathy and telekinesis
along with the hell powers,
along with the demonic powers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of power.
Yeah, that would be.
So, and would Krakoa then recognize her since they have it fixed? So that's ooh.
Oh, they just bring her right in. It's just more villainy. It just fit right into the fold.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
So what I'm saying is she might already be in the fold. They just don't know it.
All right. Yeah. Good point.
So let's kind of put a bow on this conversation. If the X-Men have been truly revealed as villains, I think Anthony Hill has a great point here. I feel like in all this competition and everything, Franklin is the only one getting hurt in this scenario. I think both teams are showing bad choices. I will agree with that, although I generally will side with the father who's trying to protect his child. But, he probably shouldn't have placed a tracker on Franklin. Although I do think him masking his X gene was actually a very good move. Does anyone else have anything to say before we head on to Batman?
Nope.
I don't. I think Franklin has lived excuse the term, a very privileged life. Some of the things he's had to go through sucks because guess what? He can destroy realities. He's the most dangerous thing. Like he has. Sorry, for the greater good of 7.5 billion people, he's got to be controlled, and it sucks for him. But I think his parents have given him a good life. He's done more than most any person ever would. His parents both love him. They make some mistakes, just like every human does. But I look at Reed Richards, and he's not a perfect guy, but he's way better than my dad was. So, yeah, I don't have any problems.
All right. Anyone else have something to say before we move on?
No, I think that about covers it.
Except the correction that yes, it is that she will be back with the Hellions. So, Madeline Pryor.
So let's talk a little bit about James Tynion's Batman run. We've got the 3rd issue, I believe, this week. We're starting to get a little bit of flavor on what he's doing. It's definitely different than Tom King. I'd say it's definitely a step up. Ash, I know you were a critic of Tom King's Batman along with me. What do you think of James Tynion's run on Batman so far and what he's doing with the character?
I'm really enjoying it. It's not a perfect book, but few comics are. It's a little bit different take than I was expecting. I didn't expect it to be so like tech oriented. Like James Tynion is really like just going like, oh, look at the new Bat gadgets, like 2 or 3 new ones every issue. But it's really cool. Some of the stuff. I think it was not the most recent issue, but the issue before. There was a really cool scene where he was sliding on the bat, what you can call this, the luge, the bat luge, and he's going after one of the assassin girls, and she gets the jump on him, and she's just like, I got you now, or any last words, and he's like, I forget what Batman says. He says something kind of like witty, and she's like, what? And then she gets slammed into a semi. And it was just a really cool scene. And I was like, yes, this is what comics need to be like. This is like action, and you got cool villains thinking they got the jump on the hero, and then the hero's like finds their way out of it. You get a really unique scene that I haven't seen that particular. And then he's on the luge, so he goes underneath the semi. Things like that are like really cool. It's not groundbreaking Batman work, but it's real solid and it's fun comics, and that's I think what it needs.
I think
it was almost like a Coyote Roadrunner type of moment there.
I think you mentioned a term though that is important to Batman, which is groundbreaking, which Batman isn't, and that's what I don't want in Batman. I don't want this like entire like world-changing new approach to Batman. He's very much a meat and potatoes detective. Nothing. He has psychotic villains, and he has a very colorful universe. But there's no reason to change what isn't broken. And that's what I like about this issue is it's just like we are back to these characters acting like what I'm used to. Penguin's not weeping over a grave. He's actually a cutthroat, which is what he is. And kind of a funny term if you consider what happened in the last issue. But he characterizes the universe the way it should be, which is just like there's a problem. It needs to be solved. Another problem pops up. There's a twist. Like it read almost like similar to like almost one of the Arkham video games where every time he beat a level, something else screwed him over. But I just enjoy that return to form of Batman. Like I just missed it. It's been years almost.
I think that we were
100%
kind of lamenting
agree.
the fact that how badly King had done, that how long it would take to get Batman back, and apparently not long at all if you just ignore everything King did, which is
I just want to say I agree with what you said, Lance, 100%. When I said groundbreaking, I meant more like thinking of like what maybe Ed Brubaker is doing on Criminal. I mean more of the writing, not necessarily the character changes. Just like sometimes you can get just a brilliant writer who just goes, "Oh my God, you just elevated a comic to a whole new level." And that's really hard to do in long form comics. So I don't expect it, but I think a lot of previous writers like Tom King was doing that. Like he was trying to swing for the fences like every time. And it's like, look, just do a basic Batman book. You don't need to.
Yes.
You know,
that's where I think his and Grant Morrison, their follies lie. I think that Grant Morrison's bad Batman comics are attempting to be groundbreaking, and they're awful. They're absolutely like he's written some great ones and he's written some awful ones. And I think the awful ones he's trying to do too much with a pretty basic character. Like we all love Batman, but I think we love him for his simplicity.
Yeah, sometimes we just want him to, catch the guy that killed your mom.
Or robbed a diamond from the exhibit, or
I know.
Yeah,
careful, guys. You're starting to sound like your boy Zach.
I know. Hey, look, sometimes Batman Batman, that guy stole my TV. He's right though.
Sometimes you just want a sandwich. Yeah. I know.
Yes.
Well, this series that Tynion's writing so far, I mean, it's epic. There's Penguins in it, Riddler's in it, potentially Joker. You don't know if Catwoman's a villain in this or not. And you got Deathstroke and these other assassins. Like there's a ton of stuff going on, and it's a pretty big for a Batman story. And that's kind of making it exciting. I wonder if James Tynion might not be blowing his wad.
I wonder.
It's going to be a very short run before they go into the post dark death metal convergence thing into 5G, which we're going to get a new Batman. I don't think we're certain that Tynion's going to be the Batman writer when he returns, so he might be.
I almost
trying to tell his best story.
I get the impression from his run that this is a palate cleanser from King. To kind of okay, we're getting all this out of the way. We're gonna try to just stabilize the title here, and then the shit's gonna hit the fan.
I almost expected an Ennis. Remember when Ennis started Punisher, and he'd been like the spiritual guy who shot demons, and then the first page of Ennis's run, he says, "Angels brought me back, wanted me to kill demons, didn't like it, didn't care for it." Then he just throws a mobster off of a building, so it's kind of his commentary on the previous run being garbage. And like, I almost wonder if Tynion could, if he wanted to, could put in a part where there's a line where Batman's like, "What'd you think I was gonna do? Sit on a beach and drink Mai Tais all day?"
Oh, dude, that would take some balls that I don't think Tynion has, but that'd be amazing.
I don't think Tynion's that confrontational.
It'd be so great though. I don't think he's a fan of King's Batman, from what I read.
Oh no, he's not. You could tell by the he was fighting the whole thing. You know, back in Detective. You know, he's like, oh, you know, we're not. I want to make this. I want to do this differently. So.
Yeah, I thought that this is just seeing like it's like I know Riddler's all weird and messed up on something, but like just seeing like even this version of Riddler is more like the Riddler that I'm used to in the last 10 years. Like he's like mutated and he's all weird and creepy, but like the last two versions of Riddler were just like not really him either. And
the weird playboy like mobster guy that King wrote was just strange.
He cut the question mark into his stomach, and I don't even know.
He was being more like Joker. Actually, you know, he was more like the Joker Riddler. And
really, then Snyder's Riddler was like a hipster, which was weird.
Are we disconnected again?
No, I'm hearing everyone.
Okay.
We're having connection problems, I guess.
Can everybody hear?
I can hear you. Okay.
No, I thought Snyder's version was really cheesy and just he had that fedora hat and the sideburns. I was like, oh my god, this is embarrassing. None of them really seem like the obsessive. Will read through every riddle and obsessively like he has like a mental problem with these riddles and it makes him crazy, and like that this is kind of like is a little bit more what I'm used to with Riddler, except for all the steroided whatever they're doing to him. He's been up for 3 months. He's going crazy. But
there's the question up on the screen: will the friend of Alfred from Last Detective Comics annual replace Alfred? I'm not sure. What do you think, Wes?
I don't believe so. I think initially when we saw the character, they did kind of a preview like, oh, maybe Alfred set this up in place where she'll come in and replace him if he's ever lost. But I don't believe that. It was just is set up to revisit an Alfred story and show something that he gave up for Batman, so Batman could go and take care of it for him, you know, in death, and show that he still loved him. But I believe Lucius Fox has essentially replaced Alfred as far as the guy in the earphone doing the operational support, and then I think Selina is essentially the emotional support that Alfred was. So they're kind of double teaming and taking that load that Alfred took care of for Batman. At least that's the way I've interpreted it.
What about Alfred's daughter? I know she's going to have some part to play in all this.
I haven't seen that. Was that in the solicits?
Whoa! Oops.
No, that's fine. I mean, the solicits are publicly available.
Has she been used since like the New 52 reboot?
She hasn't. So
what's her name? And do we know her name?
What is it? Constance Pennyworth, or
because that sounds like the woman that's being used in the DC young adult special graphic novels that they're making. You know, that there's no Alfred in those books, and I'm wondering if DC accidentally tipped their hand when they started making these books. I'm pretty sure the girl that's in that book is named Constance. That sounds right, and there's no Alfred. And it's weird. Yeah. I was like, "What the heck why is Bruce confiding in this woman like Alfred?" And I was like, "Whatever."
I think she's going to like kind of show up and say, you know, kind of the impression that I get is that she's going to show up as like, "Oh, hey, how are you? My father told me all about you and asked me, you know, if anything ever happened to him to come and check on you, you know, perhaps kind of thing." So we'll see.
Yeah. So the doc had a pretty good comment that I do want to talk about. More Batman actually doing detective-y stuff would be great. And that is kind of one of my issues. I know Ash kind of hit on it before I had to step away. But it's all the gadgets. I hate that they take away Bruce's ability to do investigation and look at the clues and piece them all together. He always has a piece of tech that just does it for him. He needs a DNA sample, it just does it for him. He needs to see a spectrum, he hits a little thing and his visor does it for him. He's always got a computer doing everything for him. I think it just really detracts from the character. And that is the one thing I really don't like. I think the Riddler is grotesque, but that's fine. It's too much tech. Every issue, there's 2 or 3 gadgets that they introduce. And I think it detracts from the overall character. That's just my take on that. And I definitely wish he would be doing more detective-y stuff, using his skills.
Juliana Constance Pennyworth is her name, and they call her Julia Pennyworth. So she was New 52 Special Recon Regiment member. But anyway, go ahead.
So if Alfred was his kind of surrogate dad, does that make her his surrogate sister, or is he going to start banging her?
She's pretty hot, so
she's a comic book character. They all are. Well, at least they're supposed to be.
Bruce is in a committed relationship. We still got Batman, Catwoman coming up. I don't see that.
So question to you, Wes, because I hear what you're saying and I kind of relate to it. But the reason I've been overlooking the whole techie thing, because I'm like, you know what, I'm kind of cool with different takes on Batman when they're not conflicting with the character. And I'm okay, it's like I make this argument about the Nolan trilogy. I'm like, he wasn't much of a detective in that trilogy, but it's like Batman's not only a detective; he's a man of many things. And I was like, so my thought is like, I'm cool when I read Batman. I'm like, here, okay, he's really techie in this storyline, and then I go over to Detective Comics and I get more of a detective story, and then I can read like the Batman Superman, and I get more of like the Justice League Batman who fraternizes with all these gods.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of get all the best of all worlds depending on which book you want to pick up.
I've always thought the Detective Comics was detective in name only. It's the same. Batman or detective just alternates on who's writing it depending on what kind of story they want to tell. If detective wants to be more action packed, it is. If Batman, like that Batman series for the Tom King run, was not a detective type of series, but neither was detective really. That was just another action series, I would say.
I get you. I'm not saying detective is inherently detective, but currently Tomasi is adding some of those detective roots in all of his stories. The Batman's having to figure out things and put clues together, and I don't know if it's the extent everyone wants.
Want it to be good and fun, right?
No, I was just posing the question to Wes, what he would think if one Batman book had a little bit of a slant in one direction, a different Batman book had a slant in a little different direction. Is that something?
I like it. I think that the technology is used as an exposition device, and it takes away from some of the fun stuff that we could be seeing in the stories. And sure. I think that some of the writers use it as a crutch nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's my complaint about it. He should be using technology. He has Lucius Fox. He has all the R&D in the world and stuff. So it should be part of the character, but I think they use it too much for exposition. But we do have a super chat from Josh, aka SSJ Future Gohan 62093. I've been reading Bat Family stuff from 2005 to 2008, all from the Batman, Nightwing, and Robin titles. It's so good, it's almost untouchable. They had detective skills and were each taken very seriously. Pele, did you like it more when Batman was more of a detective character rather than just punching everybody?
Absolutely. That's actually my favorite run of Batman was back in the New 52 right during the Court of Owls, early on in the New 52 run. That's my favorite run of Batman personally. And it almost feels like a James Bond kind of thing. You have one director's take on James Bond, where he's, all techs and gadgets and stuff like that. The other one where he's just the kick-ass spy. And, there's got to be a happy middle there, that they can meet, so, instead of like the happy midway point between, Sean Connery and Roger Moore, But yeah, he's Grant Morrison kind of built him up as the world's greatest detective, and always having a plan for everything.
He became contingency man.
That's when he took it too far, though.
The run, I think, though, it's being referenced in the super chat is the Paul Dini, Grant Morrison era. Paul Dini, I can't believe his stuff hasn't been reprinted. It's so amazing. That Detective Comics run was just fantastic. It was a good 2 years of just the master.
Yeah, it's Paul Dini. Paul Dini is the guy that I trust. I'm still trying to figure out why they haven't given him and Bruce Timm the keys and say, go make a Batman movie.
How old is he now?
I don't know.
I'm wondering if he maybe he's kind of
he's only 62.
Well, didn't he got the Arkham games? He wrote the 2 of those. As far as the movie goes, who knows? It could happen.
I would love to see the modern publishers, both DC and Marvel, go back to letting writers be editors again. You can put someone like Dini as like the editor of the Batman line and let him write a title also, and then just oversee it, because I think that's one of the major things missing is having that caretaker.
Continuity, quality.
Yeah, someone who knows the book. You can't write every book, but maybe he can write one book and then oversee the rest. And he kind of does a dual job there. And everyone it's like a showrunner, right? The showrunner writes a couple of the key episodes. Everyone else, the writer's room kind of fills in. Because you get so many books now. It's just like they're hiring people that really don't know comics, unfortunately. And now the continuity suffers.
I think that was
if you would like some more information on that, I recently had a interview with Aaron Sparrow, who's a freelance editor and writer, and he talked about some of the shortcomings as far as editorial and writing standards in the industry, and I thought it was really good. I'm going to be doing something similar real soon with Brett Smith as far as art standards. Chevy Smoke has asked, do you think Tomasi will bring back Tim Drake Robin? Absolutely not. He's not Tim Drake Robin anymore. He's Tim Drake, and he's Bendis's character in his Young Justice series, and that's all there is to it. It's Bendis. He has all the power in the world at DC Comics.
Yeah, you're screwed until he's gone, or until he decides he doesn't want to touch any more, Bat Family characters. So you're screwed pretty much until he's gone.
I don't see how Tim Drake could ever become Robin again. He's been pushed out the door. He's too old now. This has to be some other type of persona that's after this Drake thing.
Well, he can go back to Red Robin, because I think that might have been.
That seems like it's beneath Robin, though. It's like a demotion, isn't it?
Maybe.
Kind of feels like it is. Like you're not allowed into the cave anymore. You don't really get the gadgets. You get like a motorcycle and a bus ticket out of there. Like it doesn't seem important to be Red Robin, is what I'm saying. I think maybe some type of other role would be better.
All right, so Tevye also asked, do you have any opinions on Tom King didn't want Alfred to die, but editorial made it happen? I absolutely do have opinions, and there's going to be a video on it tomorrow. And do we have anything else that we need to address about Batman before we move on to the next topic? Anyone else have anything to say about James Tynion's Batman run so far?
I endorse it. If you guys like Batman and you want to read a good Batman book, if you like detective, it's kind of on par. I can't decide which one I'm liking better. They're both fun.
It's not on Queen, so it's an improvement.
Yes,
absolutely. It's definitely an improvement.
It's not abuse. It's not it's not the bi-weekly abuse of Bruce Wayne. So it's definitely better.
Oh, one last thing we didn't talk. I don't want to dig up a can of worms, but my one thing that I am disappointed on both books is it seems like DC's pulled the art talent and decided to shuffle them to other books. And I'm just like, what's going on, DC? You got 2 good writers now in your Bat books, and you're just like, oh, we're going to shuffle the art talent to other stuff.
Well, they're taking the Marvel approach, which is only put one decent creator on each book.
Yeah,
One of
that was
the
a little.
two-
That's one disappointment. Now the guy who's doing Batman is solid for
Guillaume
a
March.
B-level talent. It's not bad, and it's way better than Marvel stuff. But it's like, come on, you put Tony Daniel on the first issue, and then it's like, yep, he's gone.
It's because
Yeah,
it's double shipping though, and he can't keep up with that type of rate. I mean,
Mhm.
Daniel will be back,
but he
and
could do
then
more than one issue.
the only one they shuffled was Monkey over to Justice League, but they brought back Brad Walker, who'd already been on Detective. And
No, Walker's not back. He just
is
recently
he
tweeted
is
about it.
doing the Two-Face arc.
Oh, well, he tweeted that he didn't have control, and he. Anyway,
Well,
I'm
read
glad that he's back. If he is, I'd heard he wasn't.
But that's a monthly now, so who knows? But he's there for at least that story, at least planned.
All right, next one.
All right, Brad Walker is awesome, but we're on to the next topic. Everyone knows I was super excited. Valiant Comics, like from 2012 to 2017, in my opinion, the best shared comic universe in the history of the business, or at least in recent memory. And when Dinesh Shamdasani and the other co-owners of Valiant sold it off to the Chinese company, he kind of went and did some consultant work in Hollywood. He has a production company that helped out with the Bloodshot movie, the Vin Diesel coming out. But he's coming back. Warren Simmons is also coming back. He was the editor-in-chief at Valiant Comics. Hunter Gorison is going to be back as well. I believe he was the marketing director. And they're bringing a whole load of talent that was at Valiant Comics, including Robert Venditti, Matt Kent, Jeff Lemire is going to be in there, Doug Braithwaite, Tomas Giorello. All that talent is coming back, and they have a new company called Bad Idea. It's going to be a new comic book line, and I want to talk to you about this, Paley, because they're taking a different strategy. They are not going to distribute through Diamond Comics, so therefore they are only going to distribute initially to 20 comic shops nationwide. There will be no digital distribution. There will be no collected editions initially, and customers can only buy one copy of the comic each. What do you think about the business strategy of Bad Idea Comics as they roll out this new comic company?
It's certainly a bad idea. So, apparently I'm not special. My place was not special. So, I don't get this, and I don't know what they're thinking. There are entire states that are not going to be represented and be able to get this product. It's stupid. It's trying to create some form of exclusivity, and that never works out well. I mean, you can ask Wizards of the Coast, and they tried to do this when they're rolling out just specific products to their very special stores, the premier stores in their WPN network, and it just bombed. So it's.
You don't like the idea of them trying to go around Diamond and be creating a new distribution method and grow along with that.
That's fine, but I think that they need to start out at a little bit wider base there. It's at least, look for one store within a city, within one metropolitan area. This is just, it's way too congested, it's not congested, it's way too restricted there as far as I mean, there's going to be situations where people are going to be interested, and there's just no way for them to actually get the books, and then you're going to have the knock-on effect with the marketplace, with books hitting eBay for 50 to $100 a piece, right off the bat, because there's just no other way to get them.
Yeah, so I'm excited about the idea and all the talent involved, but I'm severely disappointed in the execution, because I'm not going to see these comics for years. If they're only going to roll it out to 50 comic shops by the end of this year, they're certainly not going to be coming to the Philippines anytime soon. Ash, I know you have some thoughts on this.
I do, and I do want to say to everyone who's listening right now, if you haven't, Wes did a really great video kind of covering the whole basis of the news of how this is all working, and that he's one that educated me on this. And I agree with a lot of the thoughts that you made in your video, especially where it comes to, it's a great idea. I get what you guys are trying to do. And I love the idea that you're not going to put stuff, like, you don't want to like put it in digital. You don't want to do the trade paperbacks and the variant covers and all this stuff, because comics need to be collectible again. And if that works, then comic shops can thrive off of the back issues and things that are great for comic book shops. I do want that, but at the same time, when you're only doing 20 stores in the entire country,
Yeah.
I don't want to like come onto this book and go, oh, whatever, book X, yeah, and for lack of a better, I can only get onto this book on issue 20 because that's when it finally came to my store that I could buy it, and the first 19 issues are unattainable because they're so rare and sought after. And by the way, I also can't go pick up the trades and read up and catch up on the story. I can't go read digital copies to catch up. So it's both positive for fans, but it's also some negative to fans. And I think in your situation too, being in the Philippines, if you're outside the United States, good luck.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of comic fans who are in the military, they're overseas, they want these, they might want to get these books. I think what they're doing is a good idea, but they need to go back to the table and go, how do we achieve these ideas that, are accomplishing these goals of making comics valuable, making them sought after, helping the LCSs, all things that we all agree with, but also don't screw 90% of the fan base as well.
Yeah. Here's a good example. Madison, Wisconsin is one of the premier, areas for comics in the United States. I mean, they have a large number of comic shops within the greater metropolitan area of Madison, Wisconsin.
Is that true, Lance?
No shops.
Yep, there's 4 of
No
them.
shops are going to get that. No shops are going to get those comics. Atlanta, no shops in Atlanta are going to be getting those comics.
I assumed everything was going to be near California, since I believe that's where all those.
Yeah,
guys
it's
are
all
based.
west. No, there's New York. There's New York.
Oh.
There's going to be what's that one? Metropolis Comics, or I can't remember what the name of it.
Midtown.
No, there's one in New York. It's
Midtown's getting it in New York.
yeah, but there's there's large ones that are. Graham Crackers, I think, is going to be getting it, and but that's it. Madison's Madison in Atlanta and in Florida, Florida's not even getting any of them. None of the shops in Florida.
Well, you mentioned an interesting thing. They said 20 stores. How many Midtowns are there? There's got to be 15, right?
Yeah.
And there's 10 graham crackers, so not every graham crackers is going to get it.
It's probably going by accounts, and
they'll be able to distribute them from the main main store.
Yeah, like we have 2 chains in Pittsburgh.
I would say this: as long as they keep their back issues in print and keep adding stores, and they can always reprint, then I guess this is just a small startup that is.
I believe this is the idea. They want to do it where they go around Diamond because they think they're a problem, but they don't want to overextend themselves by going nationwide immediately. They've never distributed comics themselves. So they're going to keep it tight to 20 stores and then grow as it goes along, which in a theory is great. Let's find a way to get around time. And they are an issue, but like I said, it sucks for someone who's a huge fan of all these creators and these creative voices, because I will have zero access to these for years.
Now there's also alternatively, you may end up with them licensing foreign reprinting of them. Yeah. Kind of the same way that Marvel used to with Panini comics over in Europe. Mm-hmm. Now, often it's going to be for a other language than English, so they may find somebody that is going to publish it in the Philippines, but it'll be in whatever the hell language you guys speak.
Well, it would be in English here.
Yeah,
but we speak Tagalog everywhere. But
this is going to be like so underground. There's no way this is going to get foreign distribution.
Here's the thing. Speaking of alternative solutions, Alterna has a pretty good distribution network. Why didn't they just go talk to Peter and say, "Hey, could you distribute our books?"
Well, Peter's still in fairness, I like what Peter's going to do.
It's got to be better than 20 shops.
Yeah, but he's still not really up and running for it, and he doesn't have the ability to handle the kind of volume to essentially distribute to every shop, even if every shop wanted him to. He just doesn't have the ability to do it right now. He doesn't have enough employees.
I know. What I'm saying is, yes, I understand that, but it's still got to be better than 20 shops. You know, he probably connects with 500, you know, which is probably about a quarter of the comic shops that are left.
I think a good compromise could be something similar to what Mirage Studios did in the day. If you're, you know, for those of you who remember when like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out, and no one could get copies because I think like 500 were printed, but yet people were freaking out about these books, and Mirage was like, all right, we'll just make another print run, and they shipped them out. I think you can do that because collectors would still want the first printings for collectability, but readers could get the second printing. Comic stores could benefit by selling those second printings.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
And you know, that way you're still not doing the whole trade paperback thing, but later on, stores that weren't in, because I think Wes made a good point about not overextending. I would much rather see them go small and have a chance to grow than just try to over deliver and be like, hey, we're going to deliver to every comic store and we're a 3-man outfit and we can't do it, and then it just implodes.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for that, but don't cut your foot off at the same time, like, because fans are going to be like, well, why should I invest in this book if I can't get it till 12 issues down the road when it's finally available somewhere? When you guys,
I do think the idea of just of you know, a regular print, you know, regular updating of print runs, as long as they keep the comics available down the line, then yeah, I don't see a problem.
The other issue,
as long as they do keep up with that.
The other solution to this is actually pretty simple. It's 2020. Build a friggin' website, sell them physically, mailed to your house.
Yeah, but you have to have employees to go and mail all those out. Have you seen what it looks like when your boy Zach is mailing out 10,000 comic books?
Yeah,
it took him a month and a half. It took him 2 months.
Yeah, well,
he's the goober that tried to do it by himself.
Yeah, and people aren't going to want to pay $4 shipping for $4 comics. So
no, I get that, but I mean, look, Marvel used to do you could still do. Actually, I think you can still do for about half of the titles from most publishers. You can still do the actual subscription service where they mail it to you in a plastic thing. Now it'll get half the time it gets wrecked in the mail, but
that's the problem.
Yeah, but
because the way Marvel still ships them, unless they've changed anything, half the time they still fold it in half and throw it into a large envelope.
Yeah, well, no, they don't even have it. It's not even an envelope. It looks like a clear, like it's one of those really crinkly plastic bags that have, you know, the kind of like a chip that's sealed like a bag of chips, and it's clear, and there's a thin cardboard backer on it, and that was it. But additionally, now
throw it in the Ziploc.
Yeah, well, but here's the difference. You're not dealing with some, you know, ex-military guy that has never done this on that kind of volume before. You're dealing with actual professionals in the comic industry. They can hire a couple of people to just work in a shipping and receiving department.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably at least well capitalized enough to hire a handful of kids.
But here's the thing, though, Doc. According to the article, like, it seems like these guys are really pro. Like, they want to rebuild the LCS. They want to support that, and selling it direct to consumers is kind of bypasses that.
But it's kind of a happy medium, because you're going to have a lot of people that are still not going to want to do that, because they're not going to want to pay the extra couple of bucks for shipping. And
it'd be better if you're going to do that. Why not just let stores order, just drop ship it to stores and say, as like Pele could say, hey, I want 10 copies. And they
like I do with Alterna, I just say, hey, I need 3 more display boxes of the current books.
Yeah, now, and that may be the solution too. Like, you know, just build a website, have retailers sign up.
But then again, it comes to overextending, right? Because if you have over 2,000 stores, that's more than just a couple of dudes, you know, in a fulfillment department can be able to handle.
Yeah, and that may be the solution too. Like, you know, just build a website, have retailers sign up. But then again, it comes to overextending, right? Because if you have 2,000 stores, that's more than just a couple of dudes, you know, in a fulfillment department can be able to handle. I mean, alternatively, yeah, some.
All right, Doc, I'm going to need you to.
Well, I was just going to say, Josh made a good point. Just hire a fulfillment service.
All right, I will address that as well, but I do have a super chat from Kenneth Dowling. Hi, I left a comment regarding the Batman's grave, but wanted to show support. Keep up the good work. Best Bat book right now. Shout out to the panel. I did want to mention Batman's grave from Warren Ellis earlier. If you do want Batman doing detective stuff, it's actually in that comic. And if you do want a Batman book with the relationship between Batman and Alfred, that's also in that comic book. So it is a very good alternative to the rest of the Batman series. As far as the EVS and the Indiegogo guys using Fulfillment Center, they're also charging $10 for domestic shipping, which I'm certain that Bad Idea does not want to charge, and Fulfillment Centers cost a lot of money. And if you don't do it correctly, as we saw with the dude, the Phantom Menace guy, you can ruin your entire
world-class bullshitters.
Yes, that guy. So.
Yeah, but I mean, look, if you're hiring a fulfillment center to only ship it to 2,000 stores instead of 8,000 individual people, the cost of that shipping goes way down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it can get folded into the cost of the product, basically.
I'm going to trust that those guys have looked into all that stuff. Like I said, it's an interesting idea. I like the idea of going around Diamond. I like the idea of having all their comics being in prestige format. I understand why they don't want to do digital, because they want to avert piracy. I understand why they only want to sell one copy, so they can avert all their books being on eBay and people being fleeced for them. But I do think it's going to backfire a little bit. And I am personally disappointed, being a huge fan of all the creators and the people running the business, that I'm personally not going to get to see these comics. And it doesn't sound like Pele is either, but hopefully within the next few years, they will start to get out there. Now let's get to the very last subject, the Captain America, Marvel's Captain America credit snafu, and Captain America: The End, a comic book edited by Jordan White, one of the leaders of the Legion of Doofuses. They credited the King, Jack Kirby, and the legend Stan Lee as the creators of Captain America, wherein in fact it is another World War II veteran, Joe Simon, that created it along with Jack Kirby. Doc, can you believe this happened? Like, how bad is Marvel editorial right now? How is that guy not fired?
Yes, I can believe it, because Jordan White is a completely incompetent editor. Everything he does is incompetent, and him making another incompetent thing happening under his watch, it's a Tuesday. It's just a day that ends in Y. He's an idiot, and the guy never should have been promoted above fetching coffee for an actual editor. All right.
Pele, what did you think about this? It's just a colossal, what a monumental fuck up.
Oh, it's embarrassment. It's like you didn't even know that Captain America, had been published 40 years before. I mean, how do you not know this? It's like, how long has he been writing? I mean, how long has he been editing for Marvel that he doesn't know that, about Captain America's very rich history, with World War II comics. It's just.
And if you don't know, you just assume it's Lee and Kirby. So if he has to write that at the beginning of a book for legal, is he just is his default just Lee and Kirby on everything?
Yeah, I kind of get that impression. He kind of does. It's either Lee and Kirby or Lee and Ditko. It's just, who made this? Well,
Ditko didn't do that, so it must have been Kirby and Lee.
Yeah.
So March Hare saying that his Joe Simon's grandson actually got involved on Twitter. I did not see that, but I did see Rob Liefeld absolutely take the piss out of Marvel Comics and Jordan White on multiple occasions, and I was firmly in support of that, and I think he did a great job. Ash, what did you think about the fallout from all this stupidity from Jordan White and his group of buffoons, imbeciles, whatever you want to call them?
Oh, it's indicative of what I've been saying about editors. I've been trying to keep it low salt, low sodium today, but Jordan White is just a symptom of this industry. He's one of the legion of doofuses. So I mean, this should go up to also the EIC. I mean, isn't this guy overlooking the books? There should be so many eyes on this, and for someone who's a group editor, not just an editor, not even an assistant, a group editor of your biggest line.
I can't tell the bigger disrespect, not giving Joe Simon credit or having Eric Larson actually have contributed the copy material after that. I mean,
it's just indicative of what you just said, the buffoonery. Just a bunch of people being in charge of things that they have no business being in charge of. They prove it month in and month out, and no matter what, no matter how big they fail, they somehow just continue to get paychecks and pats on the back.
They fail upwards too.
It's so weird. Yeah, exactly. Like Marvel not only accepts failure, accepts outright piss poor ability to do your job. They actually promote it. This isn't somebody that's been stagnant or new or anything. This guy's been promoted. This is the fucking moron that went into the Marvel office when they knew that Jonathan Hickman was rebooting X-Men in 2019 at the later part of 2019 and said, let's reboot X-Men in January 2019. We'll redo Uncanny X-Men. We'll do an Age of X-Men event. Let's fleece the fans one more time, piss them off, and then reboot it again. Twice in one fucking year. How is this dude still employed? It's beyond maddening. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Josh, for the super chat. I can't agree with Sean Murphy enough. All editors should be required to have some sort of educational degree. It would make a huge difference. I totally agree. I did we talked about that in that editorial and writing standards with Aaron Sparrow. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. I think it was excellent. Doc, I know you want to talk some more shit on Jordan White and what a massive fucking moron he is.
Well, I mean, I've already said it in the past. I'm like, first of all, I don't understand any time they ever put the man on camera. He's like the opposite of Viagra, whatever that would be.
Roseanne Barr nude.
Yeah, basically, I would take Roseanne Barr nude over Jordan White's
his ukulele,
his stupid goddamn ukulele. He looks. You know what? I'm not going to get into insulting his appearance. It can be easily. I'm just the man is everything he does is screwed up.
I get the impression that he grovels to Cebulski, on a regular basis. The connection I've seen between them is very, very subordinate. He's just like, oh yes, sir. Oh yeah, wonderful Cebulski. He's always, he's always genuflecting towards him. So
you know what? Honestly, I refer to a lot of the talent that is currently in the X office as everybody paying the Jordan White tax, which is he gets a little thirsty, and then suddenly everybody after a while, those creators get to stick around and get exclusives because otherwise they'll probably get a sexual harassment charge.
All right, we have another super chat from Kenneth Alley. One more thing. Kevin Conroy is my number one favorite Batman Bruce Wayne. Ode to the previous discussions. Favorite superhero. Have a great day. Great weekend, everyone. Anyone have any thoughts on Kevin Conroy?
He's the perfect voice of Batman.
He is the definitive voice of Batman. Yeah.
I mean, I would say number 2 would be Michael Keaton's Batman voice, but number 1 is still Conroy. That just the voice, if you just took it, it's just amazing.
Yeah, Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say it beats the hell of what we got with Dark Knight. Whatever the
Batman. Kevin Conroy is the voice I hear in my head every time I read a Batman comic.
Tell me where the bomb is, then you have my permission to die.
No, Kevin Conroy is the quintessential voice of Batman. Kind of the same way, you know what? Even though the movies were terrible, when every time I hear, you know what, going back to my childhood, anytime I hear the Beast talk, I would think Kelsey Grammer. That was the voice that was in my head. And then when they cast him,
that was a good voice.
Yeah, when they cast him, it worked for the voice, but not the look, because
not the physique. No,
yeah, not because it's Kelsey Grammer. I mean,
what do we think about Mark Hamill's Joker? I think he's damn near perfect for that as well.
Yeah, Hamill. Yeah. You know, they nailed every voice in Batman the Animated Series. Period.
I don't even understand with him being such an incredible, being such a competent actor. I would say, as far as Mark Hamill's concerned, why didn't they just monopolize that and make him Joker on the big screen? That just didn't make any sense to me. So
all I know is he was a villain. I think he was the trickster in the Flash show, right?
Yeah.
And I thought he was excellent.
I think
Hamill doesn't really have the look of Joker.
He's not
in makeup. He could probably get away with it.
Nah, Joker's all skinny and almost bone. He's like skin and bones almost.
Yeah, I mean they did do Jack Nicholson as Joker, but he was Jack Nicholson.
Mark Hamill's reputation as a bad actor precedes him too. That also hurts him. Like, most people don't consider him a very good actor.
Mark Hamill?
Yeah, he's a
like
voice actor.
Great voice actor, but like as far as like film, like he's generally just Luke Skywalker and nothing else. Like
yeah. The other thing is Hamill prefers. He said in many he just likes to do voice acting. He's totally fine not going in front of the camera.
Oh, the man's certainly talented. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's very talented. I love his voice in his Star Wars role. So.
But he's not exactly a great physical actor. Like he doesn't emote very well, like physically, and he's not all that. He doesn't really draw your attention physically. But whenever he's talking, if you have something that's much more visually appealing in front of you and visually captivating, like animated Joker, it catches you're glued to it.
Oh,
all right, Doc.
He's going to be in the leading role, voicing in Invincible, the remake, the comic remake. It's going to be on TV. The TV series coming out soon. So
perfect. Dane Barrett, my favorite commenter on the whole channel. I mean, I love you all almost equally, but Dane Barrett is my number one, and then everyone else is the same. Jordan White should be working at Starbucks and playing his ukulele on open mic night. I don't hate Starbucks that bad. I don't like it, but why would you want to do that to the customers at Starbucks? That's not nice. All right, we got anything else? Spawn Fire, says Batman the Animated Series is the best cartoon ever. Only one of the few that still holds up. I will agree on that. I've been watching on some of the old Transformers, and it's not all that great. And so I think does anyone else have anything to say about the Jordan White, Captain Marvel, or Captain America credit snafu before we move on and do our recommendations for the week?
I just want to say the words Legion of Doofuses again. That's all.
Absolutely.
I love saying it. Wes, you coined such a great thing.
It is. It's perfect.
Well, they don't know how to represent the character of Captain America in any way, then do they? They don't know who created him, and they don't know who he is. So that's what we get. That's what we get from Marvel.
I mean, it could have been worse. You could have gotten him created by Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Good point.
All right, and we'll end it with this March Hare. Keith David is what I hear when I read Spawn. There you go. Nice.
I agree.
And it's that time. It's the end. It's the weekly comic recommendations from the panel. Lance, what are you recommending for the viewers this week?
Well, I had a lot to pick up this week, and it still sticks with me that Criminal Number 12 was so just good. A showstopper. I've read everything Phillips and Brubaker have done since Sleeper, and I consider this the high water mark. This 12-issue run of Criminal is the best they've done, in my opinion. They have always done great work, but this is the best. Very low-key crime stuff that doesn't use a lot of cheats to get out of situations. Everything seems very hard and very real. So absolutely loved it. Can't wait for the next thing from them as always. So that would be Criminal 12. Give it a look. Check out that series.
Absolutely, it's an unflinching ending. Like they did not pull any punches. It's worse. They told you what was going to happen in the first issue, and it was more heartbreaking and tragic than you could have ever imagined when they finally got there. The way they executed it, I was blown away. One of the best comic books I've read in a very long time.
Yeah, I loved your review on that also. That was great.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we had a good time with that. It was not a good time, but really enjoyed talking about that. It's a comic book that everyone should have been reading. It's too bad it didn't get more recognition because it was just so much better than the rest. All right, Tevye Smolka is recommending Justice League and Fantastic Four, X-Men. Great choices, Tevye. Ash, what are you recommending this week?
I'm gonna recommend Ascender. Number 9 comes out on the 12th. If you're not getting this series, if you're letting it slide, you can pick up the trade from your local comic book store. Image always has great prices on their first volume trades. I'm telling you, this book has got beautiful art. It's a great sci-fi fantasy story in the same kind of style of Star Wars. Great characterization. Even if you don't like Jeff Lemire, you may really like this book. It's just, I love it. And then #Read Hawkman issue 21 is coming out. Still going strong, and support this book. It's one of the books at DC that we should all love. I love it, and those are my two prime picks for this upcoming Wednesday.
Awesome. Also, Dane Barrett is up to issue 5 on Criminal of this latest run, and he's enjoying it. I hate to break it to you, it's only going to get better from there. It's just outstanding. Oh, so good. All right, Doc, what are you recommending this week? Anything new?
Nothing from this past week, because this past week I only picked up, well, you know what, I'd say Fantastic Four, X-Men. It was solid enough. There was some problems in it. I'm still a little confused by it, but it was mostly a good book. Marauders, Burn It with Fire. Think I'll recommend for this upcoming week, Ignited. No, I'm just kidding. There's no way in hell I'm recommending this goddamn book.
Oh Lord.
Batman and the Outsiders comes out, which I've still been enjoying, even though some people are a little disappointed in it. I'm enjoying it. Batman's Grave comes out this week, and I'm looking forward to that as well. Bloodshot number 6. Once again, look at the pictures. Ignore the dialogue, make your own, because Tim Seeley can't write his way out of a wet paper bag. But Brett Booth's art is fantastic. Does Flash Forward come out this week? Because they kept releasing Bloodshot and Flash Forward. The first 5 issues, they were both always released on the same day. So I get a double dose of Brett Booth.
No, it did not come out this week. No.
It's not coming out this upcoming week?
It might be this coming week. Let me look at the
Okay. All right, Doc. You need to do your homework before you get in here. But Comics by Purchase saying he reread Lock and Key prior to the next Flick show airing, and it holds up. Nice detail. So there you go. Comics by Purchase saying go check out Lock and Key. Dane Barrett is saying Marauders 7, if only for Caselli's art. Caselli is absolutely amazing. Here we go. Dark Admiral March Hare with the super chat. Very much. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. I picked up the Question for your recommendation. Wasn't easy in finding a copy number 1. Haven't had a chance to read it yet. I think you're gonna really enjoy it. That's a really good introduction, and issue 2 is even better. I've really enjoyed Jeff Lemire's The Question. I believe Bill Sienkiewicz is on the inks, and it's Dennis Cowan on the art. It's a really good book, and so is Jeff Lemire's Joker Killer Smile. I was blown away by that. Second issue on that one is also great as well.
I'm looking forward to Hub City in the late the 40s. That in the next issue in Question 3. That's going to be great.
Yeah, that's a cool series. I think you're going to enjoy it. Like I said, thank you very much for contributing and helping support the channel. You're a great guy, March Hare. We love having you here. Swanfire is But
Oh, I was going to say one last recommendation since it got brought up on Twitter earlier. Punisher Soviet. Seriously, we're not pushing this book enough. It is effing amazing.
absolutely, that's a great book. Spawnfire is recommending Daredevil, Birthright, Darth Vader, and ignoring all the continuity issues in Justice League. I agree with that one. That was a great one. All right, Doc, that's 2 strikes. Ooh.
Yeah,
he's about to get. He's going to get a
Uh-oh.
spanking, Dane. He's
know.
on his way. All right, Paley, what are you recommending at the shop this week?
Okay, the shop recommendation for the last week was this week was X-Men Fantastic Four. It was solid, very, very solid. I concur with Doc's comments on that. My personal recommendation, though, is Usagi Yojimbo. You need to be reading this if you like.
Yes.
If you like good comics, you like solid artwork. It's awesome. The most under the radar title out there. I very much enjoy it every single month it comes out, and I think that I'll say Darth Vader also. It was good. It was good, solid. It was a good first issue, and setting itself up for what's going to come down the line. That's it.
Boom. Marsh Hare is also saying he likes Lemire's work. He just doesn't follow him on Twitter anymore. That's a great rule of thumb. If a writer you like is saying stupid stuff on Twitter that bothers you, just don't follow them. As long as they're not being disrespectful to the fans or being complete assholes, whatever. It's no skin off my back. Wait, there it is. Black Cat is saying Flash Forward comes out on the 19th, Doc. So throw that one in your little notepad, and maybe we can talk about it then.
One thing I want to kind of point out real quick, just
Yes.
real quick. I am still in communication as far as with Marvel, my Marvel rep regarding their creators, just mass ban, just mass blocking everybody on social media. And they said that the official word that I got is that they are working on that, and they are in communication with the creators, and they have convinced them to, if not stop using the block box, to more closely monitor who is being blocked, and to unblock, non-offenders. So it's gotten up to the upper echelons of Marvel that the creators have been doing this. So, and they are trying to work on it, so they say. So, and I'm going to stay on them. This is a personal issue of mine, and it pisses me off to no end that even more than me, I one way or the other, I can read what they're having to say, by my secondary account. But to block fans that are not harassing anybody, they just like to follow certain people because they like those creators. There's no good reason to block somebody on social media if you're a creator. So, But anyway,
all the block bots are because of creators who are also in the comic book field,
right?
Aren't they? It's not so.
Yeah,
explain that to me. These are comic book fans that you're.
All right, we're at the end of the show, Lance. You should talk about this earlier. If you're interested in my thoughts on this, Perch and I just did a great video on that about social media being the bane of the comic book industry. What did you think about that video, Paley? Did we cover it well?
Covered it well, and that's what I was actually going to tie that into. Was you need to check that video out. But as an addendum to that, though, I'm staying on their ass like super glue, and I'm not going to stop until they get the fans unblocked. So
absolutely, they definitely shouldn't be blocking comic shop owners, which happens.
That's dumb.
Black Cat is recommending Daredevil, Batman, and Flash. I don't know. I think we got everything. Yep, we got everyone. So my recommendations this week. There it is. So everyone was saying X-Men Fantastic Four. I definitely agree with that one. I believe Robert Venditti's arrival on Justice League 40 for a limited run with Doug Mankey, and I believe Aaron Lepresky will be the other artist. It started out really well. I enjoyed the book. He tied it in with some of his Green Lantern lore that he has worked with in the past, and I thought it was a very good issue. I should have a review up on that tomorrow if everything goes to plan. Daredevil 17 from Chip Zdarsky with Jorge Fornes on art is a great comic book. It's not quite up to the visuals of Marco Cicchetto, but it's definitely worth a read, and I really enjoyed it. And if even reading Savage Avengers and you don't know who Coolin Goth is and where he came from, read Savage Avengers #0. It's got some new material, but it's also got the original Claremont story that introduces the villain.
Yep.
And Ashon Comics, you had one final recommendation?
Yeah, I noticed that. Thank you, Wes. Comixology right now has a big sale on some Image books, which includes all the Ed Brubaker Criminal series, all the volumes you can get for like $5.99 a piece or less. If you guys are interested, I know the aficionados love Criminal. If you want to pick up books, and some of those books were only done as graphic novels, as I understand.
Correct.
Get them cheap. Just want to point them out before the sale's over.
Thank you very much for the information. I love Comixology sales. You can get some really great stuff for great prices on there. I think that will do it for the show. Thank you all so much for joining us. We had a great time. Looks like
did we lose the stream?
I think Wes froze.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah.
And we appreciate everybody that follows us. I don't know if we say that enough.